wise man once summarized the value of learning, saying, "Give a man a fish, and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime." Every day for the past 13 or so years, we've supposedly learned something new. It all started when we come home from grade school, and Mother would ask, "So, what did you learn today?" And the answer, almost always, nothing. Today, after all these years of schooling, the question again seems appropriate. What have we learned? If we answer it from the surface, it's still a difficult question. It was algebra. We read something by John Steinbeck and memorized the parts of a cell. But if all we did here was fulfill graduation requirements, perhaps they should give us our diplomas and send us straight back to junior high to try again, because we should have done much more. By rephrasing the question, it takes on deeper meaning. We can examine just what that more is by asking, what have we learned to deserve to graduate? How has what we have learned changed us as individuals? And perhaps most importantly, what have we learned at Lincoln High that we could not have learned anywhere else? In answering those questions, we can see that we have learned, and almost despite ourselves, have grown. It's logical to begin with the reason we're all here today, why the Board of Education feels we're ready to graduate. We've all met the requirements for a high school diploma. Those requirements have taken several different forms, some tedious, some even silly. We've had to sit through more than 3,000 hours of English, math, science, and history. All in all, however, we got the education we were supposed to. And that basic core of learning is a foundation we all need. By securing it, we've readied ourselves for higher education or for the real world and are prepared to move on. Behind the credit hours are several times more hours spent simply being in high school. Football games, dances, and clubs are a very real part of learning as well. And all of these things, all this time spent learning, amounts to the tangible side. When we realize how much it is, that alone seems an impressive lot. When we realize how much it allows us to do, it seems all the more important. We have the tools to be competent and intelligent members of our families, churches, and communities. Since beginning school, we've learned to write clearly, speak fluently, and think logically. And that is, after all, what we set out to do. We're ready to go on to our other things. And that's what graduation means. From that, we can move on to a second question. How has what we have learned changed us as individuals? During this time, we've begun to find our form, our values, and opinions. Those ideas could not be well-founded without basic knowledge behind them. And without those ideas, that knowledge would be reduced as well. So those opinions are both a product of and a vital addition to our education. Imagination, creativity, and original thought have all been expanded, and the realm in which we're able to use them has likewise changed to include political and social arenas. Without this education, they would not be nearly so open to us. Furthermore, we've matured a great deal during this time. Over the past 3 years, we've set our first major goal, graduation from high school. And now we've achieved it. This lesson is an important one. We're also, on this individual level, ready for the world. But each of these two questions addresses most any high school education. A far more important question asks why we are here today at 4 o'clock, a part of Lincoln High. What have we learned at Lincoln High that we could not have learned anywhere else? One of the most praised and cursed qualities of Lincoln High is its diversity. That is, praised by those who know it and often cursed by those who don't. A good friend of mine was walking down the hall at another school one day and heard two voices behind him. The first girl whispered, "Look at that kid's weird hair." Her friend responded, "Yeah, I heard he goes to Lincoln High." The first girl whispered back, "Oh, well, my cousin told me we wouldn't last 10 minutes in that school." The ironic part is, with that attitude, she probably wouldn't. Unfortunately, hers is a common mistake. That Lincoln High is somehow different in a way that normal people could not survive. She was right in thinking that we're different. But that difference is the third part of her education I want to address, and it is not bad, but very, very good. We've learned, above all, something she had not, to tolerate. We tolerate different haircuts, clothes, and political ideas, and also different hopes, dreams, and desires. The benefits are twofold. First, by doing so, we learn to adapt to others and be flexible. Little shocks us, and still less offends. And that background will be vital as we leave Lincoln High to find our place in the world, because whoever we meet along the way, we have the ability to tolerate. Secondly, by spending our most formative years in such an environment, we've also had the opportunity to make full use of our own individual thought with a school community which allowed them to grow. We could be anything we wanted at Lincoln High, and so have had a very rare opportunity to become individuals. Hence, we've learned the most important lesson of all, tolerance. Mark Twain once remarked that education is what you have left when you forget everything you've learned. And if that's true, when all the facts and figures are subtracted, a Lincoln High diploma still signifies a lot of education. We have a basis for thought, which tells us to move on. We're able to form ideas and opinions, which allow us to move on. And we have an education of acceptance and tolerance of others that will prove invaluable as we carry it on with us. So if anyone ever asks us again, what have you learned? It may still be difficult to find a concrete answer, but we can know these things. As we receive our diplomas, we can be proud of just how much we have learned and how much true education we have received. And that is why we're here today. And that is what we've learned. Teach a man to fish, and he'll eat for a lifetime.